Atari at 4032 it looked garbage.
Three-in-one coffee, 2-in-1 washing powder, 4-in-1 toilet cleaner, 10-in-1 cat litter humider, 22-in-1 guansol tenderizer. The world of marketing map of teleshopping and comfort mafia made us used to smart and all-inclusive stuff. Those are represented by advertisements with 64T fake smiles. Living in Eastern Europe gave us those 9,999,999 in one Famiclone Miracles. Those had circa 12 games slightly modified by bits. It seemed like the Game Genie were used on those ROMs. In my country there were a lot of horrible quality Atari clones referred as TV games. And they lied a lot about the number of games included, and they did it in South America and the Arabic world as well. Just to confuse my sleepy watchers even more, let's go back to the late 70s and see what they included with the Atari 2600. It's a cliché and would seem like unnarrow-minded, but in the early progressive years of video gaming, they were going for quality. The console came with really tough joysticks and one pair of pedals, and of course you got a free game. As years went by and stuff got cheaper, at Atari's they didn't really think much about the really important task of the gratis game, because most people will look at the console's abilities depending on that game. Hello, what's the matter? Oh, you are out of combat and you want to give something for the console. Come, look at my place. I'm pretty sure I have at least 5,000 of them in my cellar. Oh yeah, the old combat that was based on Tank from 1974, pimped a bit. Two players compete in labyrinths, even with bouncy projectiles or invisible tanks, and there are play modes as well with hiding behind clouds. Do we really need more? Yeah! Combat is like a tech demo from the past. It clearly shows you what the engineers thought their console might be capable of and how much you can change on the game just by changing CTRL PF register that changes the playfield behavior for foreground or background mode, and changing color mode for making the screen half-toned by player colors, or the pair of NUSEZ which multiplies or stretches the player sprites so you can easily fit into 2K. But as years passed by, Commodore released the affordable VIC-20 in 1980. And Coleco just exploded the video game industry as they gave the arcade quality Donkey Kong for their console. Just by looking at my Atari boxes and the ones on auctions, Asteroids, Centipede and Space Invaders were often given for the console, and they considered Pac-Man as a magical item in spite of poor Todd Fry being given only 6 weeks to polish the early prototype he made in the shadows, and they did not allow him to use 8K of RAM because that would be too expensive. So we got the poor man's Peel Eater that had horrible fickle management and zero feeling that the arcade version gave, so it did not rise the sales but created a lot of returns, poor reception and bad reputation. In 1983 the story came to an end and the supernova called Atari became a Dawn Star and was torn into two. As Atari was all over by itself like a drunk bastard. Jack Tramiel, who bought Atari's hardware section, had a really different view from Commodore. He believed in folk computers, so it's really not a surprise that he decided to develop the Atari ST against the Amiga 500 that was produced by Commodore from where he was kicked out. Of course there was the 7800 that was ready for release already in 1984, but there was also the Atari 2600 and Tramiel thought it could get a second chance. Tramiel had a really simple philosophy. You have to create computers that are affordable and really easy to produce, so the high amount of sales would make more profit than a few sales of really expensive high-end machines. The Atari 2600 seemed like a perfect choice. It has a really simple structure and many parts in it were still in stock. They had a plan for a system-on-a-chip solution, but that really never happened. So they made a really portable Trinity Metal Design Junior that only came with one joystick. Games for it would be perfect for families with smaller children, and there were tons of games for it. As far as I know, in the US and Canada, you got a Proline joystick with the console and you had to choose one game from the actual collection of the retailer. While in Europe, you got the controller with the D-pad and there was even the 32-in-1 cartridge in the box. Wow! 32 games for free! That's really nice! That was every kid's dream! I can't really decide if we were that much loved or that much hated. The cartridge is really strange. The 64K of RAM was split into 2K banks so they could load 32 of the really early games. Hated. I don't understand the exact method. The ROM is stored on a C304Z8163 chip and the CD4024 PCN chip works as a counter and the buffer cap feeds it while the system is off. I'm not pretty sure of this because if we turn it off for a longer period, it will start up where we left it, but with Atari clones, they always boot with the same startup game. It's a bit overdone and not very logical as the RAM and the inverter is connected, but I don't want to go deeper because I don't understand it that much either. So there are 32 games and all of them are 2K. The 2K games were mostly made at the beginning as it seemed that even 4K games are unnecessary and there are not so many, so if we drop the games using pedals and keypads, we get nearly the number of 32. I'm pretty sure there won't be much of artificial intelligence and even if you have more rivals, they will be the same and you really have to forget about music. Okay, let's see which games were those. Space Jockey by Wittek. We shoot chapters, balloons, houses, trees and tractors in space. And even the tractor shoots back! I have a really strange feeling about this game. Why are the enemies going backwards? And the counter! And you know what's the most disturbing? I wanted to make a joke about that I have to use a mirror to play this. And now it's pretty normal. This is a troll cartridge. This is a troll cartridge. It's not too complicated, you go and shoot things. I'm amazed it fits into 2K. Fun with numbers! Is this some kind of bad joke? Every kid dreams about doing maths on a computer and setting the numbers is strange as well. The 2 under the number is the result and after the gap the 1 is the remainder. What are the others for? And why is it black and white? I really hope that I left the black and white switch in the wrong spot and they were not just stupid enough to load NTSC ROMs on a PAL machine. Flag capture, this is a game I always try to avoid and I don't think that would ever change. It's like a Minesweeper for 2 players, there are bombs and signs where you can find the flag, so it's like treasure hunting, but I would prefer the classic Minesweeper and there's really no need for 2 players. Golf! I would never guess that this is a 2K game, it's too complex for it. Controlling the game is not too easy, it's really hard to tell which direction you will shoot the ball. So you hit and stroke it at the same time like a Latino lover. In my opinion, my golf is a lot better. The ROM is 4 times larger, but the game is better 1,000 times. Wait a minute. Why is the grass blue? Checkers! The scanline number seems to be broken. Thankfully my old television can handle it. But the more modern recorders can't, so this is played on emulator for now. In the heroic age of video gaming, they really had the motivation to bring table games onto the screen. Beginning with the Odyssey, where the table became an overlay for the screen, Videopack was the flag carrier of this and it took a long time to realize that you don't have to put the table on the screen, but the more exciting visual part of the game. Back to topic, what I find amazing with these is the decision of the computer. The screen goes blank and all the power of the CPU goes for calculations. So the computer can rearrange the table in the dark. It is surprising that this decision algorithm could fit into 2K and that's something I'm gonna say multiple times for sure. In these table games, unfortunately, I play in a defensive mode and at the end of a really long match I always lose. Freeway with a rabbit. Activision was a group of people who were fed up with Raymond Cassar's arrogant style and negligence, so they could put their own names on the cartridges. Freeway is about the dilemma why the chicken crossed the road. In the original, there would be a person cross and he would leave a bloodstain. But that did not sound too family friendly, so the collision only throws you back one line, and even the person was changed for a chicken. Of course, in the arcades you could find Death Race from 1976 with Gremlins. We all know those are very arrogant PC Master Race people. In 1983 you could burn the gorilla in Congo Bongo, and in Killer Bees you could sting people to death, and I ported that one to the Atari. So this PC stuff was only temporary. As far as I know, this was the very first Atari game with multicolored sprites. The first and last lines are black because of the wheels, but instead of leaving out one player mode, they could just set the computer for a permanent up move. So I won't need the hammer! NFL football or just football? If you were disturbed by the flicker of Pac-Man, this will kill you for sure, and I really can't figure out which one I am. Controlling this game is hard and chaotic. Wait a minute! Why is the grass blue again? That cannot be... That's impossible! Okay, the Stella emulator told us the truth.
Hello darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping. And the vision that was planted in my brain. These idiots, instead of using the already existing PAR ROMs, they used the original NTSC ROMs, and they just changed the NTSC compatible counter at the TIM64T register to make it pulse, so there will be a scanline number between 312 and 316 instead of 262, but they were lazy to change the color codes as well. Because most televisions can handle it, there's a PAL 64-bit, where the NTSC scanline number and frame rate meets the PAL colors, but the complete opposite of this is not compatible with anything! Fishing! Interesting, in the original Fishing Derby there are fishes, but here there are crabs. But then, why keep the fish word in the title? In this game the computer is an expert, or just the shark won't harm him. The deeper crab you choose, the more points you gain, and you have to call it up in a clever read so it won't land in the shark's mouth. It's epic how the rod is made by the playfield, while the line is created by placing the two missiles in different position in every line. That's real Activision quality. Boxing! Activision works great, has atmosphere. Okay, it seems like two crabs doing a mating fight, but the movement is so fluid, I can't really complain. Freeway! I was pretty sure that I ate my Covington in the morning. Wait a minute, this has the chicken, so this is a different game!
They're the same picture.
Combat! If you are Covington dependent, rewind to the beginning of the video. Skying! If you remember the Sky Free for Windows 95, it was based on this Activision game. Activision used their first years to master this hardware, and this game represents it all. You can go between flags, you can go down, but there's no Bigfoot. I understand why horizontal control is inverted, but it's a little disturbing. Outlawed, one of the first Atari 2600 games, a port of the Gunfight arcade game, it gives you what you expect. Unfortunately for one player you can only shoot the target. The game is answering the purpose. They try to fit as many variations as they could. Some of them are creative and complex, like the destroyable obstacles, and when you have to reload bullets, but you can do it at the same time to be fair. Skydiver! Parachuting people falling to the desired spot and even the wind blows them away. If you like to suffer, you can even choose moving platforms, why not? It's much better to let these idiots fall and wait to crash them into Munchkin shape. Basketball! Here you have to select 1 for 2-player mode and 2 for 1-player mode. Logic is for dummies, and this game somehow messed up my easy cap, so if I did not record it separately, I lost everything before and after. Yeah, it resulted 1 minute clips with the size of 30 gigabytes. They were stuffed with corrupted frames, and you know, it took me half days to realize this. The game itself is really strange. The enemy tackles like my grandmother. Sometimes he loses motivation and goes for a walk, but if he has to target the rim, he won't make any mistake. And if you don't have the ball, you can jump really high. But catching the ball is nearly impossible. If you want to go for the rim, just throw the ball against the board and it will bounce up. That's very realistic. My favorite, if you are preparing to throw, you will do this spellcasting thing with the ball and hypnotize the enemy. And at the end, as the game goes to screensaver mode, the game continues in the backstage. This guy's breath sport like oxygen. Bowling. Not bad actually, it has a minimalist design, sometimes it feels like one pin always has to remain. If you succeeded, you get this nice rainbow effect. Human cannonball. Nice as you shoot people against the basket and they cry in pain, but to be honest, I couldn't figure out this one. Sometimes it felt like it did not want to respond to the buttons I pushed. In these moments, I reel back for artillery duel. Unfortunately, I could not get it yet. Freddy Tic-Tac-Toe or Oxo. In my country we play it with 5 in a row, in the West they did it mostly with 3, so this game is balanced with 4. You have to place them in a row or in a column. This is 3D after all. It looks great, but it really makes the game overcomplicated and I really couldn't realize what is the logic between the layers, so my brain gave up.
Brain, get yourself together!
Othello, another table game. But at last, I really love this one! You have to place the items so that 2 of yours will be in the same line and the enemy's items between would flip colors. I was always beaten, but I really like that you can turn the tables in every turn. Surround! Great, but you need 2 people for it and a lot of boredom. Blackjack! I really suck at card games and never liked them, so I skip this. Miniature golf! Give me my other golf game back! Here they really try to make it not look appealing, but at last it's easy to lead the ball. Slot Racers! The very first game of Warrior Robin Hood of Adventure. There are 2 big-nosed cars and those are spitting at each other.
And this stupid horse does not even try!
Space War is a remake of an ancient famous video game. I talked a lot about it in my previous video. It's really faithful to the original, but it can be played in 2-player mode only. Earthsea Battle! One of the first Atari games and you only have to press the fire button.
Finally, a game for my skills!
The air and the sea part is only different by the target appearance and they cannot shoot back. Tennis! We all know about it and it works. The animation is really good and it's really easy to control. Slot Machine!
I'm really amazed by the fact that there are some people who owns real slot machines at home or just sits in front of a screen pressing one button and call it a game.
This proves that even in the past this was a thing. The game itself is strange. Players only have to set the wager, then you spin only once. It's really all about luck. Graphics are really cool, it's all about vertical scrolling the sprites. Stampede! It's a really famous Activision game in that every missed goal means losing 1 life. I fell in seconds, but still, it's well made and makes use of the sprite horizontal modification in a good way. Fishing Derby!
For the sake of Nolan Bushnell!
They put 2 versions of this one too, and they thought kids are idiots! Change crabs to fishes, it's completely different now! Laser Blast! Maybe this is the easiest game in history that becomes easier as it progresses, since as the enemy comes faster, you can memorize the movement and you can kill them faster than they could drink their morning coffee. Cosmic Swarm! It's really hard to talk about this game. It has ant-like creatures placing blocking walls everywhere. You can only destroy them if you kill a certain colored ant, but if you killed another, the wall became indestructible again.
I'm pretty sure that the neighbor kills one of these special ants in Sunday morning so he could drill the walls more easily.
The strangest part is another ship sinking and then going back. If you touch it, the sound stops, but if you kill it, the game is over. Home run! Or just baseball. What a tasty meal for the last one. First, you are the pitcher, you can run to the ball, then eat the other players. As the batter, you swing it all around and hope for the best. Strange one. Really strange.
Okay, my young fellow Padawan, should I be good or evil? Good or evil? What the?
If I look at these games as programming products, half of these were surprising that they could fit into 2K.
But if I think of that they wanted to use these to make the console great again, I'm ashamed myself in their place as well.
I can't really figure out why they were thinking that these short, simple games would be pleasant to up-to-date gamers.
They just had to make a 16-in-1 cartridge instead.
There is one.
What?
Yes, there's a red 16-in-1 cartridge that is the 40 series of the 32-in-1 because it loads only the first 16 games, but they did not get rid of them and they put it on the original yellow one.
And this is the main reason why it's so hard to filter out the fake ones, because even on the originals you can see the yellow line of shame.
And you know, in Australia, they gave a 32-in-1 cartridge for the 7800 with 7800 label, but 2600 games.
Before I'm gonna kill myself, let's gonna make a theoretical 16-in-1 cartridge with 4K games.
Because they seem to use mostly Atari Incorporation Activision games, I'm gonna look at those only. I filter out the games using different controller than the joystick. Most people won't buy a pedal or a keypad for this. So let's see what we got. Adventure, Berserk, Cosmic Commuter, Crackpots, Defender, Donkey Kong, Frostbite, Grand Prix, Haunted House, Missile Command, Mousetrap, Pitfall, Real Sports Volleyball, River Raid, Space Invaders, Yard's Revenge. Sounds better, right?
That's all folks for today, and for a change I won't tell you the topic of the next episode because I hadn't decided it yet, but I'm pretty sure it will be related to programming. So take care.